This section of the show has been cut because it was utter garbage. Please enjoy the rest of the show and welcome to the blank space. Wee!
It's cold.
It is cold. I'm not sure what that was.
Yeah, who was that?
I think it was. I think my dog ran into the room, accidentally tackled me, but figured out how that happens, and I got a seizure for a moment, and that's just what happened.
Your dog is a DJ of the last like 2 years.
Sure, that works. How was your week, Drew?
Well, real quick, hold on to expand on that. How does the dog hold the air horn? Like with his paw, how does he do it?
Honestly, I don't even know. Like, he didn't have an air horn. That's the thing, right? Like, he just opened up its mouth and it just happened.
That's honestly a little scary. I think I've actually seen that in a couple horror movies.
I watched The Brothers Grimm. I've seen what animals do with their mouths. That poor child.
Oh.
That scene still haunts me.
I've seen Lilo and Stitch. When he puts his finger on the record and they open his mouth, it's adorable because he plays the song.
Okay, that's some fun stuff right there. You know, that was good stuff.
I was sitting there. I was like, man, where have I seen that before? Have I seen it like in a horror movie? Oh yeah, no, I saw it in Lilo and Stitch. That's what it was.
I was expecting something a lot more threatening, a lot more dank, maybe Mimi.
Maybe Mimi. Is that a name?
It may be a meme name. Mimi. Maymays. This is a rocky start.
See, remember when we were talking in Starbucks about like me waiting in the car and you just going off in the forest? That's exactly what's happening right now. You're just like, I'm just gonna go off with this name, Mimi Meme. I'm like, okay, I'll be in the car.
You've just left me to go roam with my own topic while you just sit in the safety of the car.
Just like Mimi Meme.
So that reminds me, right? So we actually did go to Starbucks. This is follow up.
We followed through on something we said last episode, a rarity in this show.
I'm kind of proud of myself, to be honest.
I'm proud of me too.
I wasn't really proud of you because, you really like that place, but, I stepped foot in the Starbucks, This was an achievement. I mean, if it would be actually, if it was a really good place, but, otherwise.
Well, legitimately, is that like one of the few times you've been inside of a Starbucks?
I mean, the only time I've been into a Starbucks was not of my own volition, and I
mean, this time wasn't technically either.
Yeah, it's the theme's been keeping up.
Good.
I mean, it's that, but on a positive note, though. I mean, if this is a positive note, I guess it wasn't. Estrogen making me go, so I guess it works.
Well, I guess if anything, that's a good thing. That's a good thing for you.
I guess. How do you see single as being a good thing, though?
Well,
oh wait, we both know about that.
Oh, I was going to say I'm positive, and I think you'll agree with this.
Okay.
Nobody is in a relationship and able to Pringle. People who are single are able to Pringle, though.
What? What does that mean? What is Pringling?
To Pringle. It's where you sit inside and cry into a can of Pringles as you eat them.
All right, I was expecting this to go a lot worse, so I'm glad it didn't go there. So okay,
yeah,
that works.
You don't have to worry; it doesn't get darker than that. It's just in the inside, it's dark.
All right, the positive side of this would have been, now you get to discover who you are, and you get to become a more fuller person. But no, Pringling completely works.
Pringling. And all that entails.
Yep. So for an honest review of the Starbucks that we went to, the inside was kind of nice. I felt like I could have worked on a light novel there. It had nice cozy chairs. So that was kind of cool. I definitely felt like I could have stayed there for hours, and which we ended up doing because that's just what we do. We just don't know how to shut up.
Yeah, I mean that's a nice way of putting it. Yeah.
Well, what's the mean way of putting it? I'm kind of curious now.
I like to imagine I'm a better person than that. I don't know
Oh,
if you think. I
whoa.
don't know if you think I'm a mean person, but I mean, we'll leave that to you.
Okay. All right. That's actually a good answer. Like I'm. Oh, okay. This is me clapping.
Thankfully.
Just. Mm-hmm. I'm proud
Thank
of
you.
you.
Thank you. I'm taking a little bow.
Mm-hmm.
I would take more
But
of a
yeah.
bow, but
Anyway, the Starbucks that we went to, right? Not gonna lie. The hot chocolate, Wawa does it better. I mean, it was not a bar of just melt your own chocolate, so that was good.
I,
So the bar was not high, so I definitely had a better experience than I did before.
that's good to hear. I mean, to give everyone a frame of reference, you went to one inside of like what was it, a Target or something?
No, it was a Barnes and Noble.
A Barnes and Nobles.
Mm-hmm.
If you want that good Starbucks experience, you don't go to Barnes and Nobles or a Target. You go to the
Mm-hmm.
store. You go to the actual Starbucks because they're gonna have the best quality that you can get. Everywhere else, imitations. You can't even compare.
I guess it's kind of like when you go to a mall and like they got the actual Annie Ann's upstairs, right? And they have the little stand one downstairs. Those pretzels downstairs aren't as fresh, right? But you know they should still they're still decent quality though. I mean, I feel like that Starbucks didn't even give me decent quality though. That's the difference.
Hmm.
You picking up what I'm putting down?
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Good.
As long as
Keeping
it's
it in
not
your
heavy.
pocket.
As long as it's not heavy, I can't pick up too
Eh, it
much
was
that's too
it was
heavy.
it was pretty light stuff, I think.
Okay. Okay. Well, I mean, I'm glad you at least enjoyed your environment and the hot chocolate was not miserable.
I mean, I did have what was it? Core of artichoke or whatever was it? With pesto sauce and grilled chicken. I mean, I'm not sure what those sandwiches were. They were made by aliens. But the one I had, I would not. I mean, I wouldn't reject it. That's for sure. Like if
Mm,
somebody offered me one, I'd be like, okay, I'll eat that. But it's definitely not something I'd put on my list of things to go do.
okay. Okay. I mean, I typically do not eat at Starbucks because I mean they're expensive. I say that buying the drinks, which are basically the same price as a sandwich, but
Okay,
I mean they're a bit high for my tastes. They're a bit high priced.
all right. Hey, that's just what some things are.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like it wasn't horrible, so that's good. I see that as a positive. I didn't
Good.
regret. I didn't regret going. So
Hmm. I was gonna say I'm glad you enjoyed a place I enjoy very often.
I
I
will. Okay, those are strong words. Okay,
I'm
I
glad
had
I'm
a.
glad
I
you
had a.
thoroughly enjoyed it with your body and soul.
I
You,
had a mildly good time.
it
Okay,
brought out a
let's.
new side of you. You had a life epiphany there. You sat there and you were like, "Man, I realized everything about life. I realized what I really want to do with life and just how to be happy." I'm glad Starbucks brought that out in you.
Um, okay, so the mildly good time was mostly because of that bagel that they had there was pretty darn good. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm glad that bagel
It was a choice bagel. I'll give it that.
was mind blowing. Mind
I
blowing.
mean, like
That
I could have gotten that choice bagel at like Dunkin' Donuts or like a bunch of other places, but they didn't fuck up a bagel. It was toasted to perfection. I'll give them that.
See, I'm glad the toasting was mind opening. It brought out something deep inside of you that you're very happy it did.
Yep.
Well, I'm glad you had a good time at Starbucks at least.
Drew, what else are you obsessed with?
Well, Starbucks. Starbucks. I wouldn't call an obsession
Okay.
as I drink out of my my Christmas Starbucks reusable cup that I
Hey, it's
use
okay.
very
Sometimes
frequently.
you need friends to tell you have a problem. So, what are the ones you have a problem
Hmm.
with?
Hmm. I'm having some trouble here. How about you go first?
Okay, so there's just one diner, right,
Okay.
that I have recently fallen in love with because I found out that they make the best waffle fries that I've ever had, and their cheesesteaks are also pretty amazing too.
Oh, I like the sound of that. What's that?
It's the Philly Diner.
Oh, I know that place. That place is really good.
Yeah, yeah. So like that's some place that like I seem to always want to gravitate towards just because I really like their waffle fries. And I thought Chick-fil-A had good waffle fries, and no, this is wrong.
I mean, Chick-fil-A does have good waffle fries. They continue to.
Yeah, but like what, like if you're having a steak, right? Just made by your dad or mom or something like that. It could be good steak. But like you go to the 5-star restaurant, right? And suddenly you just get this masterpiece in front of you. You may have liked your mom and dad's steak, but this ain't no mom and dad steak.
Are you low down like dissing my mom and dad? My mom and dad's cooking.
I
On the
mean,
low, are you trying to do that?
on the high, maybe.
In a searchlight and everything, you're sitting there like, yes, please, I will stand up on top of this stage and say, no, I get what you mean. Where it's just like it feels like quality. It feels like something professionally done. Where it's like, that's really good.
Don't kill me, please.
I think you're all right. I think you're all right.
Okay, that makes me feel better.
It'll help you sleep at night with your waffle
Maybe.
fries.
Maybe. Anyway, yeah, I'm sorry about that, good sir. I did not mean to do any insultations in your direction.
I appreciate the thought, but I'm gonna have to. I don't even know.
That's
I don't even know. I can't even continue that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I've been trying to think of like places I really like, and I mean,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of them are really common places. Like, I mean, I'm thinking like Starbucks, Wawa,
Okay.
that kind of thing.
Okay. I mean, those are obsessions that you can have that can or cannot be unhealthy or healthy for you.
Well, I have no preconceptions about Starbucks being healthy. I'm just sitting. I never order myself a venti mocha frappuccino, which is basically a large chocolate milkshake, and think to myself, man, I'm being so healthy. I don't even have to go to the gym today with this drink. I sit there and I say, no, I realize what I'm doing. I realize
Alright.
what I'm doing.
Okay. That works.
I mean, that is essentially what that is. It is a giant chocolate milkshake. It is in the size of a 24-ounce cup. So, no preconceptions about me sitting there saying, yeah, it's really healthy.
I mean, besides my realization of awesome waffle fries, I think one of the horrible obsessions I have is beef jerky.
Oh, really?
Teriyaki specifically.
Oh, that's
Because,
so good.
yeah, I would, if it, I'm so thankful that it's a little bit pricey, because I'm also a very cheap person, so it stops me from being an obese motherfucker.
That is basically my same excuse. It's that beef jerky is very expensive. And I'm the same way. Teriyaki, like beef jerky, delicious. So good. But when I go into a Wawa and I go over to the beef jerky and I see how pricey it gets, a little bell goes off in the back of my head that basically says, you don't want to buy this. You don't want to do that. I'm like, oh, okay. I guess I don't. Then I sadly walk over to the hot dogs and I'm like, I guess I'll just take one of these. It's the same, right?
I mean, it is both meat.
They
Just
are.
one's dried meat and one's squishy meat.
I mean, the beef jerky's still a little squishy meat. It's not like petrified.
I mean, sometimes it is.
Well, yeah.
There's definitely that one piece in the bag that's just like, oh, you sat in the sun too long.
I don't think that's actually how they make beef jerky. I imagine Jack Links has a bunch of like clothes hangers where they just hang beef strips off of it.
That's probably right with heat lamps and all that kind of stuff.
I mean, the sun is free, but there's also other sides of that.
Yeah, I mean, like, you gotta make sure it's sanitary and all that stuff. I mean, come on.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I could get on board with an unhealthy obsession with beef jerky. Unfortunately, I don't think I'll ever be rich enough for that to happen. I could be a millionaire living in a Playboy mansion out in the West Coast, and I'll still go into like a store and be like, man, why is beef jerky so expensive?
I know myself. I couldn't resist the temptation. I also feel like I could like pay a personal trainer at that point, so I can justify it. So I will live for my beef jerky.
You'll pay someone to show up to your house every day and just be like, okay, so I had 6 bags of teriyaki beef jerky today. I need you to help me with my problem. They're like, you helping you stop, and they're like, no, helping me burn off, so I can just keep going.
I want to be able to be 90 and have probably paid for some new teeth at that point, because let's be honest, old person teeth not good for beef jerky.
No, young person teeth aren't great for beef jerky. No one really is.
Yeah, I feel like every time I bite into it, like I feel like I feel danger.
You feel danger?
I feel danger. Like, damn, this shit's hard.
How does danger feel? I
Danger
never
feels-
felt it with my hands.
Danger feels like
Except like an angry dog. An angry dog, I know what that feels like.
danger feels like regret, except it's future regret.
Oh, so you're a fortune teller now. You can tell that.
I
future
mean,
regret.
that's not it's not what I was going for, but I feel like that's just I'm going to say yes. Yes, Drew. That's how it works.
Good. I finally understand exactly what you're talking about. all this future danger. I said to myself, what is danger feel like? And then you brought up future danger, and you just blew my mind.
Well, it was yeah, that works.
I know how to drag a joke right into a pit. Basically, I know how to kill it.
Yeah, let's be honest. Like you decided to sit there with the joke too, and like just keep digging. Like we're just all watching. Like we all want to go home, right? And you're like, no, hold up, and you just kept on digging and digging and digging and digging. You're like 6 feet down. It's like, let's do a ceremony now. It's like, oh, just leave it there. No. You did the whole ceremony. You reburied it, and everyone was just kind of sad at the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of how that went.
I've played enough Terraria and enough Minecraft to know what happens when you just dig deep. You end up in some hell dimension, basically.
I think that's where we were going. I'm not really sure.
Yeah,
So, anyway.
Accurate.
Yeah. So, our next topic, besides Starbucks and other unhealthy obsessions, was
Jerky.
spoilers, right? What are they? Tell me what they are, Drew.
So, spoiling is about beef jerky. Beef jerky is not very healthy for you.
Well,
It's
hold
very
up.
salty,
First,
very-
stop. You stop right now. Beef jerky does not go bad.
I was not attacking its shelf life, sir. I was not attacking the longevity of beef jerky. I was attacking the health portion of it. That's all. Don't feel personally offended. It's okay. It's okay. Don't worry. Calm down. Go back to your beef jerky. Go back.
Okay,
No,
stop.
go back. Go back. Back.
Next topic.
So spoilers.
Yes.
I was thinking about this for quite a long while, but it brought up kind of today specifically because.
Dear help me God if you talk about cars.
What? Cars?
I thought
like the
I thought
Pixar
you-
movie.
like how they have spoilers on the back. Damn it! You made me
Oh.
bring up cars.
Now I'm putting that all on you. That is entirely 110% on you. Just letting you know.
I thought you were going to go somewhere, and no, I just guessed wrong. See, I'm not psychic.
All that future danger didn't do you any good. But
It
that's
did
beside the point.
Okay.
So there's a movie out right now that I kind of want to see called Get Out. It's made by one of the guys from Key and Peele. Did you ever watch that show?
No. I know he's a comedian, though, right? Oh,
Yeah.
comedians.
Yeah, both of them are comedy writers. They've been writers on a bunch of shows. They had their own Comedy Central show for quite a while, and since then they both have been doing their own separate pieces.
Okay.
Get Out is kind of a horror suspense movie that has been reviewing incredibly well lately. Like apparently it has almost 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is not common for any movie, no matter how good.
That's weird.
What?
No, just
Oh, the
how
movie.
how good. Yeah.
Yeah. So the movie is very well reviewed, and I mean, I like a good horror movie every once in a while. I like a good suspense movie, so I was thinking of going to go see it. And I realized that the longer I wait, the more chances I have to have the movie or the twist spoiled for me.
Okay.
Now that brings up the topic of
Of
what are
being
what
spoiled.
what yeah,
Being
being spoiled, but also how long is it appropriate for you to say, "Oh no, I can't. You can't tell me what happened. I don't want to know until it's past the point of well, I mean, you should have gone and seen it at this point." Like, what is your personal policy on like, let's say a movie or a game or a TV show that you just don't want to hear about, you don't want to hear spoils for?
um, I feel like there's this can be broken down into two categories, right?
Hmm.
Um, I feel like there's two types of spoiling, right? There's there's asking somebody to leave the room, right? Type of spoiling, right? It's like, look, we're going to talk about this when that's okay to do, right?
Hmm.
And when you can just outright say it, kind of deal, right? Like everybody knows what happens in Star Wars, but the fact is there are people that want to see Star Wars either being younger that have not seen Star Wars and don't know what actually happens.
Right.
So
So
I
like,
feel like spoilers are very dependent upon everybody involved, actually.
yeah, entirely, entirely. I mean, it really depends on your personal interest and the nature of the spoiler itself. Like, for instance, I'm sure. Have you ever seen The Sixth Sense?
No, I have no idea what that is. That's a horror movie, right?
Oh, you don't? Oh, okay. Have you ever heard somebody talking about the big twist of that movie?
No, actually.
Huh. That's interesting. I thought that was like a general, like, knowledge kind of thing.
I mean,
But
that's horror, though, right?
no, it's kind of like a drama mystery kind of thing.
Oh. Well, I didn't even know that.
I don't want to say too much because I mean that's giving away a bit about the movie. It's a good movie though. I'd say track it down if you haven't. But my example is that in the general knowledge, in the general consciousness, I feel like most people know what the twist of The Sixth Sense is, whether they've seen it or not.
Okay.
And that plays a big part of the story. But I don't feel bad about spoiling it for people since the movie is so old.
Okay. So
I feel like
I feel like there's a few things you got to consider, though, right?
hmm
Because I feel like the age question doesn't really count, right? How old it is, right? Except maybe if it's like within a week. Like I feel like you have to kind of tighten your lips, right? You know what? I feel like that's a good point, right? How long is it until you can just like put it out on Facebook that or like other stuff like that, right?
hmm
Just talk about it freely. Do you think that should be one point of it? Like, because the age itself isn't going to matter because you're always going to be having people just growing up and being of age to finally watch some of the old movies, or whatever that don't want movies spoiled for them. So, I guess I'm being too considerate to kids, maybe.
I I can see your point with kids, but I mean I'm thinking more specifically the circumstances around it. Like for instance, when you told me that you haven't seen The Sixth Sense, if I didn't want more, if I didn't think it was like
I mean, you haven't spoiled it yet for me, so obviously
I
you care enough not to spoil it for me.
I haven't, but also because we are on a podcast where anyone can listen to it more or less and
So that means
figure
you
that
still
out.
have lingering ideas of it maybe not being okay to spoil it.
I do, but then that also gets into a public forum versus a private forum. Like, for instance, if I was just out on the street, I wouldn't start shouting out Game of Thrones spoilers from the most
Uh-huh.
recent episode. But if I was talking to you directly and if I was talking to you about The Sixth Sense and I wanted you to know about the movie, I would say like, "Oh, this is what happens." So
I
you
feel
can
like
understand what I'm
this should
talking about.
be. I feel like I feel like consent is going to be the biggest clause here.
Yeah, that is true too, but
You know, like if you know your friend wants to see a movie, you
yeah,
don't be like, hey, blah blah blah. You
I
know,
guess
that's kind of a dick move.
I guess I'm more thinking about like if I were just to drop the spoiler for The Sixth Sense in conversation casually, how comfortable do I feel doing that as opposed to Game of Thrones or
Okay,
something a lot more
so
recent?
what about this then, right? You're about to talk about this thing. You tell your friend, hey, hold up. I mean, your friend tells you, right, that hey, I haven't seen this yet. Okay, so I don't want to spoil it.
Oh yeah,
Okay,
I wouldn't
so
say anything.
there's two options you have there, right?
Hmm.
Actually, three, but we're not going to use the third one. Um, the first one is you ask the person you're talking to leave the room with you to go tell them.
Hmm.
The second option is tell them to get the fuck out and see the movie. You know, these are the options.
Right, and here's the thing as well is that if somebody told me that they didn't want to know what the spoiler was, no matter how old the movie is, I'm gonna respect that. I'm gonna respect that person's like option too, and most likely I'll just stop talking about it at that point because I don't want to make it awkward to be like, okay, you stay in this room, you come with me to this room, 3 rooms away to talk about it. It's like I mean I can talk about something else at that point. I don't have to talk about that, but
So I guess there's a question. I guess that kind of answers it right there, though.
hmm.
Right? Like I mean, like what else? What else do we need to go over with the with spoilers?
Well,
I
I
mean,
mean,
do you feel like there's any movies that should be universally known that this shit happens, or
well, The Sixth Sense is a perfect example, I think, where whenever it gets brought up, the twist is almost impossible not to talk about. It's like let me think of movies. Do you know Shutter Island?
no,
Do you know The Usual Suspects?
no?
Do you know? Uh, mm, See, that's the hard thing. Is like I'm trying to find movies that. Okay, here I'll just talk about it in a general sense. Is that
Okay, because
I,
you forget who you're talking to, don't you?
a little bit, just a tiny bit, tiny bit. But I guess I'm thinking of some people view talking anything about a movie or a TV show or a video game as spoilers for it. Like I know some people who legitimately do not want to hear anything about a game that they're looking forward to because it might spoil something for them.
Okay, so
Now,
it's not really just the spoiler itself. It's you know what exactly. At what level do you think the person's just being an ass?
I mean, in nicer terms, but yes, more or less. I want to see where you think it's comfortable to talk about this stuff. Like if you were if you were going to go talk about the newest Paradox game, and I was there and I said, no, 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 I haven't played it yet. Don't tell me anything about how the game plays or anything like that, or don't tell me how the game feels or if it's any good because I want to experience it without any of that context.
Okay, that's fair.
Do,
You know
do,
what? Okay, I actually think I have an answer to this.
okay.
I think the spoiler depends, right, on how much narrative is needed for it, right? Like how much the narrative is importance of the said subject. Like for instance, right?
Mhm.
Like I wouldn't consider talking about any of these scenes except for maybe like the last scene, right, of Mad Max to be a spoiler, right? Talking about any of those scenes would be a spoiler, except you know maybe like one or two, right? But any of those other scenes, it's just cool action that's not really going to matter too hard,
Now,
right?
okay.
Or like for instance, like for the Paradox game example, right? Like I feel like knowing that something's going to be there isn't bad, but knowing what all the choices are for certain events, you know, like what's the right answer kind of deal stuff. Like that would be spoilery.
Hmm. See, here's where I'm going to disagree with you. I I feel like in certain ways talking let's go back to the Mad Max thing.
Okay.
Talking about any of the scenes in Mad Max, the scenes you're probably going to mention are not like the scene where they're just driving and talking. You're not going to talk about these like relatively mundane scenes where not a lot happens, or maybe just like little character development happens. You're probably going to talk about some of the bigger moments of some of the movie, whether it's the ending or not.
Okay.
Like, would you consider telling somebody that there's a guy who plays a guitar that shoots fire in that movie a spoiler?
Huh.
Because I genuinely would. Like, I mean, I wouldn't mind if somebody told me that and I'd never seen Mad Max, but I could see people taking umbrage with that because they were like, "Oh, well, I mean, that would have been a surprise."
That would go back to how intent they are on seeing the movie, right? Like, if there was somebody I'm trying to sell this movie to, maybe I would say that.
Mm-hmm. That's a good example. Is that what I'm trying to think of is if I wanted to go somebody to watch a show or a movie, and I wanted to sell them on it, where is too far? Where is me just spoiling key parts of it, and where is me just trying to sell it to them? And obviously it's going to be different for everyone, but I'm trying to figure out.
So here's the thing, right? Like, for me, I am very narratively interested in movies, okay? So for me, anything involving the actual plot of the movie is something I don't want to know about, okay? The only thing I ever want to hear about a movie is it worth seeing or not, really. Like, when I try and see a movie, I try and go in absolutely blind. But I'm also very careful about not getting spoilers, too. Like, as you can tell, if I don't care about something, I'm not going to be spoiled about it. Or if I want to not be spoiled, I find it very easy for me to dodge spoilers. Okay? Like, I have yet to go into a movie. Well, actually, no. There is one movie that got spoiled for me, and I just did not want to see it anymore. Right? Do you remember that Terminator movie that came out?
Which one?
I think it was one of the newer ones, right? And where they had the twist in the trailer.
Oh, it wasn't Genesis. That was the future one. It was
Yeah, like they actually had. I had the movie spoiled for me while I was watching while I was going to go watch another movie. In one of the opening trailers, they had the twist in the damn trailer. Like.
Well, that's a whole topic for another time for me, is just how movies are just kind of giving away a little too much in trailers these days. Just a little bit.
I mean, like, for the most part, right? If I'm watching a trailer, I can just delete that from my brain and I'll completely forget about it. Right? Like, for me, it's pretty easy. If I don't want to remember something, I'm just not going to remember it. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
But, when it comes to like such serious plot points like that, though, right? It's just like, come on. All interest just died for me in that movie.
Yeah, I completely get on that, and that's something I want to avoid. Is that usually when I'm talking about something, it's either so bad that I'm telling someone why it's bad, or it's good and I'm trying to sell them on it. Now, the first example, I don't care. It's a bad movie. I mean, unless you are really dead set on seeing it, I'm going to talk about it. I don't care.
Okay.
But a good show or a good movie, I really don't want to tell people about it. Like here, okay. I've recommended
basically the quality kind of deal.
Exactly. I've recommended you to this a couple of times, and I'm going to recommend it to anyone listening. You should really watch Black Mirror without looking up anything about it. Without looking up a synopsis of the episodes, without looking up the twist or anything at all. Just go watch it. Because that show is just...
Hold up. I get your point now. So, like, for instance, for, like, a bad movie, or, like, a semi-bad movie, right? Mm-hmm. You would say, like, hey, you should watch Machete, because there's, like, a Gatling gun on a motorcycle.
Yeah, and I mean, that's a good movie, but...
Okay. True.
We know what the movie is.
We know what the movie is. good is not what it is.
Hmm.
Great to watch, though. Definitely. It's not a good movie, Drew.
False.
It's a bad movie made well.
If this was a true false quiz, I think I'd be writing false.
Okay. In
No,
my opinion, man,
I get what you mean. I agree. It's a what are they called? Like a grindhouse or the words on like the tip of my tongue. But it's one of those movies done very well, but
Mhm.
it's not a like good or complicated topic. It's just, do you want to see a guy kill a lot of guys really interestingly or really well? It's like, yeah, I do, and that does that really, really well.
That's about right.
Right. But back to the Black Mirror thing. I would really want someone to watch that, and I would never really tell them the spoilers for the show to get them to watch it. I would sit there and say, you need to watch it. I can't tell you anything other than maybe the broad theme of the series. But
Okay.
I'm not going to go like, oh, well, this episode did this. I'm going to be like, no, you just sit down, watch it.
But that's also a
skip
series
the first
where
episode, but watch it.
okay, but that's also like a series where narrative is like a huge thing. Though.
Exactly, yeah.
Right? Like for also back to Machete again, like the whole thing about it is the narrative is not really important. You are there to sit back and watch pretty colors, and they will just it is there just for like pure like, damn, this is happening right now kind of deal. Right?
Yeah.
I feel like that's the scale, right? We got narrative importance and damn, this is happening right now. Is that a good scale?
I guess I could see that. I could expand that into other things like games. There are some things about games I don't want to spoil for people that are not just narratively driven, but
Mm-hmm.
I
But
guess
like,
we could
you
clump
can
them
talk
together.
about like you can talk about some of the mechanics of the game, right?
Mhm.
Oh, but you know what? There's also games where talking about the mechanics of the game is a complete spoiler, though.
That's another thing I was trying to get at is that
God
like
damn it! Why does truth resist simplicity? Like, come on.
nothing is simple. Come
All
on,
of
you
it's
know
complicated.
that. Everything is in a gray area. Who
God
knows?
Damn it.
But I mean, that is a legitimate point. Is that like, and I'm not trying to get an answer here. I'm not trying to get like this is definitely the answer. It's just an
Well,
interesting
my
thought
simple
thing.
brain wants an answer. Give me an answer, Drew.
Okay, don't tell anyone anything about something they're interested in or was released in the last couple of years. If it was more than a couple of years ago, you have a safer bet on just saying it.
So is that actually what we're saying? It's
I mean,
we just go-
that's kind of my opinion on it. At least is that like it's never going to be 100% safety to say that King Kong steals a woman and climbs the Empire State Building, but I get the feeling it's old enough that we're safe.
Ah.
I feel like I can't even.
I wonder what happens at the end of the Passion.
Yeah, I guess we'll never know.
Yeah,
I guess we'll never know, and
Well,
you'll
it'll
never
be a
know the
twist.
ending of The Sixth Sense.
that's probably true, actually.
for all this talk of everything, go see The Sixth Sense. It's a good movie. Especially if you don't know the twist.
Are we sponsored by them?
Sure, let's go with that.
We can't lie, Drew. That's illegal or something.
Oh, okay. No, we're definitely not. We're definitely not.
I don't know. That may be sarcasm.
Although if the budget for The Sixth Sense still exists somewhere and wants to fund our podcast in 2017, I won't be against it. I'm just saying it's rather unlikely. Actually, you know what? Next time we hang out, I'm showing you Shutter Island because that's a fantastic movie. That's a good movie, especially if you don't know the twist.
Yeah, I don't know anything about the movie.
Okay, good. But
I think there's like some dude on an island, and that's about all I know.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I mean, it's in the name, but still.
Yeah.
I guess just to round it out, it's never going to be 100% safe to tell people spoilers. or just to talk about spoilers in general, but I feel like there has to be a point where
I
people
mean,
can't.
we could just sum it up as don't be a douchebag. I feel like
That,
that's the moral of the story.
that's
You
general
did
good
it,
life advice
kids.
too.
G.I. Joe, true American hero. Woo. Don't do drugs.
I,
Moral of the story.
you're doing a great job teaching the younglings. They're learning so much from Uncle Anthony today.
I tell you what, son, I'm gonna teach them kids the stuffs.
Is that your grandpa slash uncle voice? I'm sorry, great uncle, grunkle.
Maybe. I'm not really sure what it was. Can we move on?
No, no, we're gonna stay on this topic for all eternity.
Okay.
In fact, we're never leaving
I
until
mean,
now. Eternity is over.
Can I modify the topic to something else?
Okay.
To mods! Ha! I jumped topics. You know, like game mods. Are they good? Are they bad?
Remember what I
Where
said
are they
about
at?
waiting in the car and you're gonna be in the floor? Anyway, yes, mods for video games.
Yep.
Good talk, good talk. All right, so that was a good talk, guys. Glad we were
And
here.
that was the show. And no. So
so-
actually, I actually started playing a game again because of the. It's a much older game, right? It's Star Wars Empire at War, right? It's basically where you play as as the rebels or the Empire. You fight kind of deal in space and on land and all that kind of stuff. I found the game's pretty old, right? And the mods I found actually added a lot to the game. It allowed you to play as different empires. Allowed you to play as in different periods in the Star Wars universe and all that kind of stuff. And it was all fan made, so you didn't even have to pay for any of it. You could donate if you're a good person, but I know what I am.
just leaving it wide out in the open.
Yep.
So, what exactly does it do? Does it add more Star Wars, like races to it to play?
So basically, what it allows you to do is just play in different periods, right? Like you can play during the Clone Wars, or like you can play just after like the fall of the Empire kind of deal, as like the Rebels, like the New Republic, and Empire remnants and like all that kind of stuff, right? It's nice and balanced. It's challenging too, right? Adds like a few UI things that make things a little easier, stuff that are pretty cool. That add a lot to the game. And I feel like mods like that have a huge possibility of just like adding to the game, making it, have a longer life cycle kind of deal.
Oh, most
than it
definitely.
normally would.
Most definitely. I mean, I some of my favorite games have very interesting mods for them. Very, very good, very interesting mods for them. I think the one thing I'll always point to is Dark Souls, the PC version, was fixed via a mod. Like, the only reason I was able to play through it is because of a mod.
Huh.
That game was broken and hot garbage, basically, on PC before a modder came in and actually fixed everything. Outside of the developer's own tools, he basically just did it all himself and fixed it and made it playable and helped me to experience that game.
I got you. I know that's kind of how I felt about Fallout 4.
Say again?
I said that's all I felt. That's kind of how I felt about Fallout 4, and just how the game was patched together. Like there were a few certain things that modders changed that made the game a lot better. Like I was one of those rare people that really enjoyed the settlements. I know I'm a horrible person, and, but that's actually the point of the game that I really liked. And they allowed for just better settlement construction. And it kind of made the game a lot better for me, a lot more playable.
Yeah, I know. With strictly Fallout 4, I still haven't played a ton of that game. I want to go back to me being the Fallout fan I am. I'm kind of ashamed I've never actually played through it, but that's neither here nor there. It's
I didn't either. I mean, the story itself was questionable.
not
quality.
strong. But, I mean,
Yeah.
as soon as I started playing it, I realized that some of my favorite stuff in the game had been changed to a point where I didn't like it anymore. Like the dialogue system. I hated the dialogue system of the game. I still hate it even with mods, but mods make it more tolerable.
Wait,
where
what
you're
did the
able to
mods do?
So in the game they give you the option of basically yes, no, ask for more, or
Yeah.
ask for more information or money. Basically, instead of that, they changed it to the older Fallout style, where basically they would tell you what you're going to say. So
Ah.
instead of like NPC saying to you, "Hey, do you want to fight?" and your literal wheel says yes, no, tell me more, or like punch.
Yeah.
It'll give you a 1, 2, 3, and 4, and it'll tell you exactly what you do or say instead of just a yes or a no.
Yeah. Yeah, that's for
So
sure.
yeah,
That sounds like something I need to download for that game if I ever go back to it.
oh my god, it made things so much better. It made things so much better. And I mean, there's even like some I think they released like an essential mod pack or something like that, where basically it's like these mods make the game more tolerable. Not
I
not
feel like it,
Bethesda, but I mean like but like a bunch of like guides put
I
together.
gotcha. I feel like it's kind of odd, like when you have games like that where mods just make the experience so much better. Do you ever feel like that looks badly upon a game, like where the mods just show what the developers could have done just some things and would have made the game better? Or
Yes. I
oh,
mean,
okay,
yes is the simple term. I I think genuinely look, I understand game development is very difficult, and it's not as simple as just, oh, do the thing. Why didn't you do the thing? But at the same time, what you have is a situation where people were paid to professionally make a game, and their final product they put out for money and on a store shelf is broken in some way, and somebody in their free time as a hobby fixed it in usually very short amount of time, a very short amount of time.
okay,
Like for instance, when Dark Souls released on PC, it was a hot mess. It was just so bad that people were reporting it all over. They were like, "This game is unplayable." This was before Steam refunds, so people who bought it just had to stick with it. Um, and people who bought it really wanted to play it too. Like it was a really interesting game to come to PC. And the modder who actually fixed it, I believe his name was Durante. I'll have to look it up at some point, but he fixed it within, I think it was a few days or a week. So essentially, what happened was this game studio that put out Dark Souls on PC spent however much time they did to put this game out on PC and make it run as best as they could.
and one dude could just fix it
And
on his own
just one
within a
dude
week.
showed up and was like, "Oh my god, all right, here, let me fix it." And then he fixes it for free, and then just pushed it out to the world. That
Now,
that I
now
un-
do you
hmm?
Now, do you think that's showing more of like a bad quality of like the studio itself, or just the fact that sometimes amazing people don't get paid to do amazing things?
A little bit of both. Maybe lesser on the second point than the first point, but a little bit of both. Um,
Okay.
on the first point, I think some developers just don't know how to make games for certain systems. Like for
Uh,
example, Dark Souls ran not amazingly, but it ran okay on the consoles. It ran all right, and then PC was a hot mess. I think that's genuinely because the developers didn't really understand how to make this game for the PC. Like whatever coding went into it, obviously they just weren't up to the task.
okay.
But on the other side, I do think there's some really talented people out there. Like for instance, this guy I mentioned, Durante. I looked up Durante. Um, he he basically fixed Dark Souls, and he's had a reputation at this point of fixing games that have come out in his free time. I don't know what he does professionally. I really don't. But every time a game comes out and it's broken, people usually turn to him, and if he has an interest in the game, he fixes it. Like for example, there was this game recently called Little King Story,
Okay.
and the game came out on Steam basically worse than it had ever been. Sort of like Dark Souls. Like when it was re-released on PC, the frame rate was like really, really terrible. Apparently, the physics of the game were busted. It just ran poorly on all fronts, and he came in and actually fixed it. Weirdly enough, on request of the developer themselves. The
And he did
developer
it
actually reached out to him and said, "Hey, fix our game."
and he did it for free.
I don't know specifics about that. That time, I think because they reached out to him, it might be a contracting deal.
Okay.
But I know generally when he's done things, he's fixed it for free, or yeah, basically for free because I've never seen it charged for his stuff.
That's something I could never do. Just do pro bono work for like that. I mean, I feel it's kind of interesting the fact that you're saying that he's not been picked up by a studio by now. Like what? That seems like something that would be like an invaluable asset, really, for anybody, for any of these studios.
Well, it might come down to a bunch of things. It might come down to he's in a job that he likes, and this is literally his hobby. Or he could be a developer in a studio that just he does this as his side work or something like that. He could be getting paid for it or something. I don't really know. I don't know the story behind him. I imagine whatever he does, he's doing well for himself because I mean he's really really talented. But
okay, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, and I mean it's interesting to think. It's interesting to see. It's interesting to think about. I think honestly, if I had the skill in my spare time, I might try it, but I imagine that's so much work. That is so much to know and so much to figure out. I can't
But
imagine.
I guess it's kind of like along the lines of like why we do the podcast. It's just kind of doing things for creation's sake.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, he's brought a lot of good out of his work. Like basically, he fixed games that people have enjoyed to this day. People still play Dark Souls, and I mean, people still play Dark Souls on PC, and then I imagine the big reason for that is because of his work.
Okay.
And I imagine with this new endeavor he's on, Little King's Story, I imagine he definitely will be like fixing something that people will want to play for a while. I've heard this game has always been good on the other systems it's been on, and now it's on PC. It might actually change a bit.
Okay.
For the better.
Neat.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to talk entirely about just mods that have fixed games. I mean, mods are a lot more than that.
Well, yeah, like the one I was kind of talking about. Is like basically a complete expansion upon what the original work was, right? For the Empire at War game, it just adds. They're just different mods that add. It's basically a whole. It would be like a second edition of the game, basically.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
And they just gonna add like to the life cycle of a game too. Like some game that got released back in, jeez, when was it released? When did let's see here, when did it come out?
What game?
Empire at War.
Oh, that must have been early 2000s.
Yeah,
that
something
came out a
like
long
that.
time ago.
Like it's a game that got released then, and I can still play it because of these mods that came out. The base game itself is good, but like it's not something you're like, all right, yeah, this is the shit kind of deal. But the mod adds a lot to it. It adds like a lot more depth, a lot more interest in it. I don't know. It allows to extend the life of the game, basically. I think that's good.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, a game's longevity because of mods is not a new thing at all. It's certainly been a thing for a very long time. I spent quite a bit of time in my youth playing mods specifically. One, because I was a kid with no income, so basically I was like, this is free. But also because there were very high quality mods being made for games and engines that I owned and played often.
Okay.
Like the Half-Life and Half-Life 2 community for mods astounds me how large it got and how much was made for it.
Oh yeah, Gary's mod and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, not even that far, because Gary's mod is a mod in of itself. I don't even want to touch on Gary's mod yet. Like, for instance, there's single-player expansions to Half-Life made by fans, full expansions with voice acting and cutscenes and everything. One of them even got picked up and put onto Steam. It was a remake of Half-Life 1 in the Half-Life 2 engine.
Okay.
And it got picked up for sale on Steam. Like, you can go buy it.
Neat.
There's actually a couple of stories like that. Have you ever heard of a game called Insurgency?
Yeah, yeah.
It's it.
I think I just deleted that from my Steam list today.
I'm sure he's listening. I'm sure the guy who made it is listening and just got very very sad right there. No, but yeah, that was a mod originally for Half Life. And
Hmm.
it got such an active community that he was able to turn it into a full fledged game. And there's plenty of other games I played too. There was a game called Zombie Master and Zombie Panic. Oh, I spent so much time on that game. That game was so good.
Okay.
So,
What was the first mod that you ever interacted with or had or played with?
hmm, it was either Zombie Panic, Zombie Master, or Pirates, Vikings, and Knights.
Okay, so all that it
So,
was all the Half Life stuff, right?
yeah, it was Half-Life mods specifically. I didn't play a ton of mods for other games. Like, I guess if you want to count like the custom games that went to StarCraft, but even
Hmm.
then, that wasn't like a mod I installed somewhere else. It was just a custom game made within the game's engine.
The first modding that I had ever dealt with was actually in a Total War game.
Hmm.
It actually wasn't a mod itself. It was editing the files in the game to allow you to play as like any of the nations kind of deal,
Oh,
right?
okay.
So it's like self-editing kind of deal. But besides actual mods, I mean, my first actual mod was probably with probably say Minecraft or something like that.
Hmm.
Like when Minecraft was first coming out, like that's when I first got into modding and actually downloading mods and being interested in what they did and stuff like that. That's when I
Yeah.
first realized you can add a lot to a game. As Minecraft is basically gets extended so much because of mods. I don't
Oh,
even know how many
absolutely.
hours I've sunk into that game. It's a ridiculous amount, that's for sure.
Yeah, and it's funny to think about that. Like in my time playing Minecraft, I can't even pull up like an hours count in that game. I can't even think about how long I spent in there. But I barely scratched the surface with modding.
Uh huh.
It was it was like primarily texture packs. That was about it. I never got into any of the complicated stuff
Mm-hmm.
like wiring and complex systems and
Mm-hmm.
all kinds of stuff
There's
like
just
that.
exactly. There's just so much you can do with it. And just thinking about yeah, it's actually a question now. Like when I start a new game, like, do I want to try and dig into the mods with this, or do I just want to keep it like complete vanilla, right?
Well, that's
Because I feel like sometimes when you do mods, it kind of ruins things a little bit, right?
that's an
Like,
interesting thought. I'm kind of in the same boat where I don't think if I was starting out a game, if I was
hmm
fresh into it, I don't think I would install any mods or anything like that.
hmm
Fresh off the boat.
because like I know for instance, right? Like if I find a mod that really really enhances the game, and you can't go back to like the vanilla game itself, and
Hmm.
you ever want to play multiplayer in that game, it's suddenly just a nightmare, right? Like if you have like a mod that's not multiplayer friendly, right?
Yeah.
It makes it super difficult to really get into the mods at that point. Because that's kind of how I feel about Solaris at the moment, right? Well, for one, they have a pretty decent base game. Okay, like you could not touch a mod and you'd be completely okay with that game,
Hmm.
right? And their development is pretty on par with what they're doing,
Yeah, the
right?
base game is solid enough. You really don't have to get into mods if you don't want to.
But it's also a game like if you do multiplayer with, right? No, you to do multiplayer, you'd have to get everybody else into the same mods that you are into, for one,
Hmm.
which is a little difficult. And you'd also have to make sure that it all syncs up, And if the mod goes out of date and everybody loves the mod, then you got to wait for the mod to update. That's what happened with Minecraft a lot when I
Yeah.
actually used to run a Minecraft server back in the day. Um, that was the biggest thing. Like we'd have a mod installed; it was essential to what everybody was doing, and the Minecraft would update, and we'd have to wait weeks and weeks and weeks just for the to get the new upgraded version that added like all this cool stuff, kind of deal.
Yeah, and believe me, I don't think I've ever actually gotten into multiplayer modding. Well, I mean, mods that affect the multiplayer for a game, other than maybe mods that are for a multiplayer only game, but even then, that seems a little like hard to get, for my end at least.
Yeah, but like it's definitely a difficult thing. Like once the question of going with mods is like, you know, how up to date is this mod going to be? Like for instance, like a like a major update happens in the game and adds like a next level. It actually makes the game a lot better and makes it really, really hard to go back to just the base vanilla game because you'll have all these other things that you like. So it then becomes a question, you know, am I going to stay in, like, back to the Minecraft example, back in Bucket, which I think is still, it's a mod that adds like a ton of different things, right? And I still think that's still in its pre-release Minecraft form, I think. Just because they just don't want to update things anymore. At least I'm pretty sure. They could have updated things a lot, but like they're usually a healthy amount of updates behind the actual Minecraft release.
Yeah, and I mean that's probably somewhat intentional, where it's like, you know, we can just let's wait until we're in a good place, mod wise or update wise or anything, where we can just throw that onto another platform.
And I know, like, especially for like the multiplayer aspect, right? It's just wondering, like, hey, is this thing I'm going to be adding in? Is it really balanced, or is it just sort of balanced, or does it just look balanced? You know, like that's another thing you got to be worried about. Or is the update you're going to be doing, is it going to fix the balances? You know, make things more balanced, kind of deal. You know, that's a huge question as well. And do you want to go with that, or do you want to stick in the base game? I mean, that's. Mods make my brain hurt sometimes.
Yeah, it sometimes can get complicated, but I guess to round it all out, I want to describe some of these mods to you that I played a ton as a kid. This is literally going to be me walking down memory lane more than anything else.
Hold up, let me get my hot chocolate.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you want to zone out for a minute, I just feel like I'm just gonna reminisce at this point.
Okay, I got my popcorn. Got the bandages. You know, you never know what's going to happen. Okay, I'm all set. Go ahead, man. I'm sitting here waiting.
Good. So, do you remember when we played For Honor?
Yeah, I remember when you played For Honor.
Did you ever think it was lacking something?
No, actually, I thought it was a complete experience.
Did you ever feel like it was lacking a set of characters? Like we had a good set of like samurai and Vikings and knights, but I feel like we were missing something interesting, like pirates.
Nah.
We'll find it. I'll just shut up then. No, so this mod this mod that I'm talking about, Pirates, Vikings, and Knights. Oh my god, this game is so much fun. It's basically For Honor with a less complicated fighting system.
Also known as a worse fighting system.
We won't get into semantics, but it's such an interesting game because it's all objective based.
Okay.
Where, as far as I know, in For Honor, your objectives are either 1v, like battle, like a battle mode where basically you kill the other guy, or there's a mode of like, what's it called? A mode of like capture the point or something like that.
Okay.
Pirates, Vikings, and Knights basically says, you guys just want to fight. You could fight. You could fight it out on all kinds of interesting areas. There's one where basically it's a pit. It's a big Colosseum pit. Where pretty much if you guys fight for too long, the map says, oh god, you guys been fighting too long. So the whole map fills with lava.
Oh.
And you just walk around and you're like, okay, I'm going to make sure not to step on this lava because it's an insta-kill kind of thing. There's another mod where basically, and there's another map where basically the building falls down around you and pits just start opening up as you start. Oh man, I just want to play this game now. I might be playing this game.
Is that what you're doing after this?
I might be doing that actually. I'll think about it. But let me move on to another one.
Okay.
So another game, and a game actually I'm super interested in why there's never been another game like it.
Okay.
It's called Zombie Master.
Okay.
Now, essentially what it is I think it's like 2 to 8 people take on the survivors, and they're people with guns and melee weapons and all kinds of stuff.
Okay.
And they're trying to complete this like course, this like objective kind of like get out or start this car or something like that. And then one player takes on the Zombie Master, who controls spawning zombies, setting off traps, doing all this kind of stuff, like above the other players.
Okay.
And it was so much fun to play, and there was so much map variety. Like, for instance, there were maps.
So you mean like Dungeon Master, Dungeon Keeper?
Kind of, but like instead of it being against the computers, it's actual people. Like, for instance, like Dungeon Keeper. As far as I know, Dungeon Keeper doesn't have players invade your dungeon.
Wait, what am I thinking of? What am I thinking of?
You might be thinking of the Mighty Quest for Epic Loot.
Is this it? Game Dungeon Master. I know I've seen it on Steam. It's basically the one that allows you to there's like you have somebody that plays as like a DM, right? And you have the 4 adventurers, and the DM is in charge of spawning monsters. Oh wait, Dungeon Land. That's what it is. Dungeon Land.
Oh, is that what it's called?
Yeah. And basically, you have one person's in charge of like spawning monsters at you guys, right? And the 4 players, which are player characters, have to try and get through it. So it's kind of like that.
Oh, maybe. I'd have to look into the game more, but I mean, it's on console.
I think it's free I think it's free at the moment too.
Yeah, it's free to play. Yeah, it's pretty cool actually. I didn't know this existed. I might have to look into this.
Is this what we're doing afterwards?
I mean, I'm still on a Pirates, Vikings, and Knights kick. We might be doing that. That actually sounds incredible.
Let's be honest. You're going to be doing that.
We are going to be doing it. But anyway, that's essentially it. I had so much fun with those mods. Unfortunately, actually, Pirates, Vikings, and Knights has continued to update, and apparently it's like still really well reviewed. Zombie Master has been abandoned for a very long time.
Okay.
I'll pull it up real quick, and I don't even know if I can find like a website for it or anything. The last update was in 2009. Yep, this game is probably dead, beyond dead.
Hey, I have a small guess. And you can tell me I'm wrong. Right? It's dead.
I feel like I'm going to bring it back to life. Myself.
You have lofty goals, and people like you need to have those goals. Okay, you know that's how things get done. That's how the visionaries work in the world.
I feel like you're sarcastic.
I'm sort of sarcastic. You know, I mean, like if you really tried, I bet you could probably do nothing. But I'm
gonna let you stop right there. I'm gonna let you stop right there. So, long story short, mods are great. Mods are wonderful. If you enjoy a game, try and find mods for it. I guarantee there's probably some.
Ooh, so what do you think of like what do you think about paid mods? Oh, that was an angry eh.
It wasn't angry. It was just.
I mean, do you think they're wrong?
Not wrong. I think calling them paid mods is a bad term.
Okay. What about monetarily funded mods by your own volition?
I still don't like that. I think it's easy to know what we should call it. DLC.
Oh. I mean, see, one is just by the developer. The other one's approved by the developer.
I can get behind that, but the the problem I have is that when you start charging for it, there's a certain quality you expect from it.
Okay.
The reason I love mods, one, because they're free, but also two, you never know what you're gonna get. There was at one point when I was on a big kick of playing Half-Life mods, where I just started going through like the Half-Life mod database. Like there's a website for all the mods ever released, and there was just this one called like OMG WTF BBQ number 2.1 or something like that. And basically all it did was replace all of the textures with a bright lime green and made it so every time you took a step it was Tim Allen just going, ugh! And that was the entire mod. And I had no idea what quality I was going to get every single time I
Well, this is the thing, right? I'm talking about mods that are actually professionally, like, this is somebody that's third party being like, hey, I think I can add something to your game. That'd be pretty good, right? Or like they do like a complete expansion off the original content kind of deal, right? Mm-hmm. Like, do you think something like that would be good? I'm talking stuff like basically for the Empire at War kind of thing, right? Like, I could see something like that actually being, a paid for kind of deal.
Yeah,
but it's also kind of illegal to do that without the developer's permission.
Well, yeah, certainly. It gets into a weird gray area in my mind. It might just literally be in my own head. Like it just might just be me. Mm-hmm. But I feel like once you start charging for it, mod is the wrong word for it anymore. Like it feels like it goes in. It feels like it goes into an echelon of like DLC or patches or expansions. And I know it's not officially by the developer, but I guess
it would be something that's below developer content, but above regular modder content. So it'd be an in between.
Yeah, exactly. Like for instance, if something like let's just take Skyrim because Skyrim did it. If you took content in Skyrim and started charging for it, like these free mods that people have put out,
why would somebody do it? Why would somebody bother? Kind of deal.
Why would somebody like buy it, or why would somebody make you pay for it?
Well, just why would somebody even bother at that point, right?
Yeah.
You know what? I just kind of. I mean, if you can get something for free, why would you do it otherwise? Or you can get, like, equivalent content for free. Ooh, you know what? I just thought of something else, too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I didn't even think about this, but, like, if there's actually official mods, right, that are charged for, the company could then actually argue that, hey, these mods are actually taking away from our revenue and just completely shut them down as well.
Yeah, that's true. That's the thing. I've always counted mods and the company who released the game so far separately from each other that when they start charging and when they get into an agreement with the company, it really muddies the water for me to the point where like I unless it's a considerably large expansion, I don't know if I would consider picking it up. Like the big example is like, would you pick up armor in Skyrim for $1? No, God no, I would never. Like that makes no sense to me whatsoever. Would I pick up what was it called, like Irithyll or something like that? It was the mod that was released for Skyrim that was just like a humongous expansion. Like, it was a whole new map and spoken word DLC, NPCs and all this different stuff. And they were like, "Hey, give us $5 for it." I'd be like, "You know what? I could consider that." But
like a dungeon pack or something like that, or
I don't even know about dungeon pack. Like a dungeon pack seems small enough where I'm like, it really does, to me at least, seem like something that's just like you're gonna have to do a lot of work and a lot of convincing to get me to buy a mod. Whereas if you literally just called it DLC and released it officially under Bethesda or something like that, I would be perfectly fine with it.
I guess that's fair, because at least then it actually has the stamp of approval, like the full stamp of approval, not like, yeah, maybe kind of deal.
And that's without getting into, like, the developer who releases the mod, or if it's even their mod, which was a whole debacle when Steam did paid mods the first time.
Hmm.
But that's not even getting to that whole part. It's just simply the fact of like, if the developer of a mod released their mod onto Steam for a paid amount, they would have to do a lot of convincing to get me to pick up that piece of DLC.
I mean, like, I know with certain companies that are very favorable towards mods. Like, I know Paradox Games are very so much to the point to which they actually hired one modder to be on their dev team because he did such great work.
Yeah.
I know Minecraft did the same thing. They're very pro modding, and they see it as like an addition to the community, not
Oh,
something that can take away from the game.
oh, absolutely, and that's honestly what I think modding is great for. Is on top of just giving free community content, is kind of like a portfolio for you to get into the industry. Because I mean, if you're making mods, you know enough about games to kind of like make something basic at
Hmm.
least. So when you look at it, you're like, you know what? We could hire this guy. This guy would be interesting to hire. It.
Hmm.
Mm,
I gotcha.
yeah. I don't know. I'm just thinking of like what would be an instance that would get me to buy a mod for a game that I like that is not released directly through the company.
Yeah, you're right. It would have to be something pretty amazing and very highly rated.
Yeah, like for instance, what would be an example of something you would buy, a mod you would buy for a game, other than the Star Wars one you mentioned?
Honestly, it would basically have to be like a whole expansion kind of deal. Like how you were
That's
saying for Skyrim and such, like one of those. I think I fall in the same line as you.
yeah, that's kind of how I'm feeling. Is that
It would have to be something that genuinely adds like a huge portion to the game that's well made and again, since it's not something that the developers like shit, this is amazing, let's make this DLC, right?
Mhm.
Like I feel like more stuff should be done like that, but you know that's them having to look back on old games, I guess. But mm, yeah, it would literally have to be like this huge project kind of deal.
Yeah,
Maybe even be interested.
and I'm feeling the same way. Like I'm trying to think of a lesser dollar amount compared to something like if you released like player armor for a quarter or a dime, that
Like,
might
but even then, like
might
I still wouldn't be willing to, just because you know what, I could do without it. It's only a quarter. It's not worth my time or effort. It must not be even good or worth it, right? Like there's definitely a point to where something's so cheap that it's like I don't even want to pick this up.
yeah, I can get that. I was just trying to think of like if money is an issue, what's what would be an alternative to that? Like if you were to release like let's say a dungeon pack, like for instance a Skyrim dungeon pack where it's literally just you go into a dungeon, do a thing and then leave. It's it's not a massive expansion, but it is like a level-ish.
But again, like here's the thing, right? There's already dungeon packs for free, so why would I
Yeah, I guess you're right
like?
there.
There's already such a huge market of free
Hmm.
that it makes it very difficult to be even demand like $1 for it, right? Like even just putting anything behind a price, well, heck, putting something not on Workshop, right? Getting people just not even being on Workshop, just like being on Nexus mods, or heck, getting people on Nexus mods alone, right? Like it makes it really difficult to get any sort of money for any of it.
Yeah, it's certainly a topic that like I think if Steam or any company were to bring it back up would
It's
have to
gonna
be
have to be a new game.
it's an uphill battle and it would have to be a brand new product out the gate. And even then that's a big gamble cuz I mean, who's going
I
to
mean,
buy a
that's just gonna
game?
anger people.
Yeah,
Especially if it's one of the big games, like if Cydia does it with their next Skyrim or something like that, that's people are gonna hate that.
yeah, it feels like it feels like enough where it's like, you know what? Let's not do it.
Hmm.
Because there were so many issues. There's so much bad blood in there.
You know what? I feel like the correct way to get this content charged for really is just to go through the developers and just the whole DLC thing you were talking about. You know?
Yeah, like something that I think is really interesting is make it a community item via DLC. Like for
Mhm.
instance, the modders can go up to the company and say, "Hey, I've got a cool mod. It's got 10,000 downloads on Nexus Mods." And Bethesda comes down from their ivory tower and says, "Ooh, what do you have?" And they look at it and they say, "Oh, it's this new gun for Fallout. Let's release it as official DLC or in an official patch, and here's some compensation money for you, and we'll just throw it into our game." And there you go. That seems like a decent enough system to me, where it's a community-driven thing instead of like, oh,
Or like it could be something that's like, hey, this is at least balanced. So you can put it, or like you have like a bunch of things that you put together, like a bunch of guns, or like these were all community made kind of deal.
exactly. I mean,
Okay,
I can't imagine we're ever gonna get Macho Man Randy Savage Dragon as a official piece of DLC. But do you really want to pay for that?
No, no, I don't. All right.
On that, Macho Man Randy Savage Dragon. I think we're good.
I think we're good too.
But you know what's better than that? Yes, cowbell, but
That was my guess.
Pirates, Vikings, and Knights. Good answer, solid answer.
Well, I think that does it for us then. This was a blank space, and we filled it in with something.
Something.
I feel like that's your trademark, something.
Something.
It's like it's androgynous, and like whatever androgynous means.
You don't know what androgynous means?
Shh. Good night, folks.
Something.